All right. Here we are. Wonderful to see everybody. It's a beautiful, cold, pre-winter storm day. I don't know if we're going to get the brunt of it or not. I hope not. So here we are for our City Commission Committee of the Whole meeting for Monday, December 19th. And our first order of business is to call the roll. Good Clerk Borley.
Commissioner Decker. Present. Commissioner Hess.
Present.
Commissioner Hoffman. Commissioner Juarez. Commissioner Pradel.
Present.
Vice Mayor Cooney.
Present.
Mayor Anderson.
Here. Thank you very much. May I have a motion to excuse Commissioner Juarez and Commissioner Hoffman? Motion made by Commissioner Decker, supported by Vice Mayor Cooney. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Now, why do I'm not ever prepared with this number. Now is the opportunity for public comments. Oh, there. Thank you.
I have no communications.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just left Jim out.
Yeah, no communications.
No communications, thank you. So now is the opportunity for public comments for our Committee of the Whole meeting. Just as a reminder, as anybody who's watching, we do have a public comment period during our business meeting, which will start at 7 o'clock tonight. The public comments at a Committee of the Whole meeting are limited to 2 minutes. Ask for your name and whether you live in the city. And we'll start with the chambers, but I will give the number for anyone who wants to call in with public comments. That number is 888-382-9556. So first of all, is there anyone in the chambers who would like to make a comment for this meeting? Seeing no one, Deputy City Manager Chamberlain, has anybody called in?
Hi, go ahead. You're with the Kalamazoo City Commission.
Yes, hello.
Yes, go ahead. You're on with the Kalamazoo City Commission.
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City employees, thank you for your work and this opportunity to speak. This is Jim Ratliff. I'm a 30-year resident of Kalamazoo. I live at 916 Sunset Lane, just off of Bronson Boulevard in the West Niche Hill neighborhood. Hey, I appreciate the city's work and emphasis on making Kalamazoo's streets safer for motorists, pedestrians, and non-motorized traffic. I'm thankful for the multiple opportunities for input to the street plan, even back in pre-COVID times when the well-attended in-person meetings had great idea sharing and consensus building. As a 30-year bicycle commuter in Kalamazoo, I see the city as taking inspiration from best practices around the United States and exploring progressive ideas about how traffic flow can work in Kalamazoo. Motorists have treated me respectfully as a cyclist, and I encourage the development of protected lanes and traffic calming where it makes sense. Particularly Bronson Boulevard, I ride that many times a week, and it's kind of challenging because motorists drive very fast there and they hug the curbs tightly as they wind up and down the curvy road. I recognize there are many needs and bigger issues facing our city, so I'll close by expressing my appreciation for your efforts concerning safer streets for all.
Okay, that was the only call.
Thank you very much, Deputy City Manager Chamberlain, and I want to thank those individuals who took the time and made the effort to call in with a public comment for this meeting. Well, Manager Wisma, we are down to the work portion of our session. What do we have for this evening?
Tonight, we have a review of the past year, 2022, and actually the 5-year review of Imagine Kalamazoo. And I would like to have Rebecca Kick, our Assistant City Manager, and Christina Anderson, our City Planner, will come forward and celebrate with us and share with us the progress.
Welcome. Glad to have you with us tonight.
Good evening.
City Manager Ritzma, City Attorney Robinson, Mayor Anderson. We're super excited tonight to come before you for the 5-year birthday celebration of Imagine Kalamazoo. A little later this year than normal. The actual birthday date is October 17th. It's the date of the master plan, so we're running a little behind in terms of celebrating, but better late than never. We are going to go over a couple things tonight with you. And at the end, we have a super special treat, a quick little video for you guys to watch that Neil Conway just made, and it's pretty exciting. So we are going to talk about the progress made this past year, also touching on the fact that a lot of these programs have built on each other over the last 5 years. We're going to talk about it always, because this is what our work is always grounded in, is the strategic vision. So you'll see that the presentation tonight is organized by strategic vision goal. This is in no way a comprehensive review of all the actions that were taken either this year or in the last 5 years. We've just tried to hit some highlights for you so you can understand and the community can see some of the work that is being furthered each year with our master plan work. And then, of course, always tying the work back to the Foundation for Excellence as well.
So in addition to the work that we present to you each year is how much progress we've made. And so within the past 5 years, what we've really prided ourselves on is the intentional work to implement this plan. The city has many plans, but the master plan is one of the largest and most comprehensive. And so each year we kind of show you this ticker tape of where we're at. Last year we were at 64% of our goals that were completed. We've been hovering around this ongoing of 14%, and then our in progress has fluctuated each year. So if you want to know some of the complete goals that we've talked about, we've done zoning, like the downtown zoning projects. These are lots of things that have come in front of you that you have approved. And in addition, studies and surveys, like we recently completed the youth development, Parks and Rec, working on their youth master plan and doing surveys, as well as the sustainability plan. Those are some of the big notable things that Christina will also cover in some of our slides. Ongoing things are sidewalks, infill housing, many of those initiatives. We've got recycling. We've been doing, our tire blitzes, lead pipe replacement. These are many things that we've had in front of you. And when they were initiated, many core services we were not able to do at the level that we're doing without the Foundation for Excellence. And so they did end up in this master plan. And so we've kept them in this bubble of ongoing things. So they're complete, they're noted as complete, but we continue to fund them and need funding for them each year. In terms of started, we have some items in downtown planning. We worked on the Notre Dame study that they came and presented to you in August. And so now we're going to be working on the placemaking projects, the alley activation, the North Mall, the streets activation that will be happening around a potential arena site, the Arcadia Festival site. So there's lots of things that are started. And then there are things that are not started. You may have read in an MLive article that was recently published. There were 3 things that were not started yet. And one of those is there's a big goal, very big goal of 1/4 mile. Every resident can walk to like a green space or a park space within our city. And we keep looking at that goal and going, how do we get there? And so it's going to be a real focus for us to break that goal down and really understand how we can move it forward in what way. Additionally, fruit trees in our parks, as well as a cultural assessment of our city. What are all the really great places that you can hold events? Where are they at? What can they do? And can they be for music? Can they be for a reception? All kinds of things. And again, we're talking about public assets for that cultural assessment. So the first goal that we're going to cover is complete neighborhoods. So in complete neighborhoods, this is where a lot of our housing takes place. So we did this past year 15 new infill housing units along with our pre-permitted plans. These two things are really in conjunction with one another. We have our great partnerships with Kalamazoo Neighborhood Housing Services, which you've heard a lot about, but the pre-permitted plans was something that was really critical to getting duplexes happening in our neighborhoods as well. And so we're using that goal of the pre-permitted plans to really support the infill housing work. And so there's more of that to come, but we just wanted to be able to highlight what we did in 2022. There are also lots of zoning updates that are happening within planning, continuing to work with our neighborhoods with commercial zoning, and we're going to get started on residential zoning for the 2023 projects. And we were able to complete or fund 163 multi-family rental units this past year as well. And one of the most notable was the Lodge House, which was 60 units that got built and opened and occupied this particular year. Some of the other projects that we are also funded but are not open yet would be 530 South Rose, which was a low-income housing tax credit project that we were also able to help fund, and that's a senior development, and that will be 80 units. And you did pass a pilot on that particular development as well. Another great program that was in our neighborhoods had to do with beautification. So there's a lot of programs that we offer through many of our nonprofits that you must income qualify for. However, there are still people that have a lot of needs, especially on the exteriors of their homes, like power washing and paint, that they wouldn't necessarily income qualify for, but are still really necessary. So we had a small amount of money. We had about $35,000, and we did a pilot program where we were able to offer the service of power washing or a voucher to Douglas & Sons to pick up paint to start a project on the exterior of their home. And we kept that focused on our shared prosperity neighborhoods. We were also able to distribute flowers through our neighborhood associations. We gave them a budget, and then they were able to distribute those flowers. And we had some beautiful flowers planted all of our neighborhoods for that too, as well as the garden kits that were distributed through the Vine neighborhood.
Those garden kits are a great segue into environmental responsibility. Food systems, being able to grow our own food for those that are able to is a critical piece of our community's sustainability. 2022 saw the continuation of a lot of great projects that had been previously started, such as continuing the EPS foam recycling events, completing a recycling audit, and 2 projects which made quite a bit of headway. So the first are trees. 350 public trees were planted this year, which puts us at 1,000 trees over the last 5 years that have been planted. In terms of tire recycling, this program blew everyone away, wildly popular. Recycled tires, 1,264 this year, which puts us at 5,000 tires recycled since this program was started. Rebecca mentioned the Community Sustainability Plan that was passed earlier this year, a comprehensive document following up from the master plan in Imagine Kalamazoo that outlines goals for sustainability within the city. These are both this document has internal goals, looking at our fleet, looking at our buildings, but also external goals. I mentioned food systems, thinking about transportation, thinking about energy efficiency. And all of those are lined out in the Community Sustainability Plan. It's available online at imaginekalamazoo.com. One of the programs tied to that is the Energy Collaborative that was launched this year. And this really looks at our businesses as a way to kind of move sustainability forward in Kalamazoo. There were 35 that participated, which is what our goal was for this first year. And it is a program that really allows those businesses to access data, to track their energy use, understand how to access rebates and incentives, and again, giving our businesses the power to help lead sustainability in Kalamazoo.
And so economic vitality is working towards many of these programs that we've spoken to you about before. We have a continuation of our facade program. So we had 3 facades completed in 2022, and we have 15 in progress. And we'll be doing this program again next year. Our Core 60 training programs, which is working with contractors of color, we had 10 contractors who were able to obtain their licenses, as well as business support of over $507,000 to invest in or grow 80 businesses within our city. Our Black Entrepreneur Training Academy is a 5-month cohort, which we also had 10 participants who graduated from that cohort as well. What's critical about each of these programs, including our facade program, is the impact that it makes in our corridors and on the people who are running these businesses. This is in the East Side neighborhood and in the East Side core on East Main. And what's really great about this is it's in a neighborhood node, which was identified in their neighborhood plan out of the master plan, as well as the impact that is developing in this corridor as the land bank is doing their East Side Plaza project and just broke ground last week on that East Side Square. This is a fantastic impact in what we can have in these neighborhoods when we really focus our dollars.
So our next goal that we're working in is Connected City, one that's near and dear to my heart. Spent a lot of time this past few years, working on community engagement and doing pilot projects as we move forward. Connected City impacts all of our different ways of moving throughout our community, transit, personal vehicle, bike, or pedestrian. And in the last year, 2 miles of sidewalks were repaired or rebuilt through our funding from the Foundation for Excellence, which led to a connecting of over 7 miles of network. So it's not just that new sidewalk went in or sidewalk was repaired, we extended the pathways that people were able to travel to get to work, play, school, et cetera. 10 lane miles of bike lanes were put in this last year, often tied with our traffic calming work. And 45 lane miles of streets were either repaired or repaved. So patching, potholes, and mill and fill, the light overlay work over the last year. Stadium Drive was completed this year on time. It was our first Streets for All project, which is pretty exciting. And when we think about Streets for All, it's a call to action for everyone in the community and for city staff to make sure that we are thinking about all travel modes in all projects. So who do we need to serve with this corridor? In addition to great new smooth street surfaces and the landscape median, the Stadium Drive project was able to add a shared use path along the north side running along Western's campus, which provides space for pedestrians and cyclists where no sidewalk existed. You sometimes see people walking in the shoulder on that road, but it was pretty quiet. And since it's gone in, there's been starting to see some movement along it, which is great. It ties into the Howard Street multi-use path, which runs north into campus. So again, all of this work, Connected City means creating a network. And so this is slowly adding to our network. Here's another picture of before and after. Parkview Avenue finished, a project that everyone was excited to see done. It was a water main project at its heart and provided the opportunity to repave Parkview. We were able to look at how we expand the size of the bike lanes, which were pretty narrow on Parkview previously. We also were able to implement something from both Imagine Kalamazoo and something that was called out in the neighborhood plans of Oakland Winchell neighborhood, Oakwood neighborhood, and Parkview Hills, which is better connection north-south across Parkview. And you can see it in this next picture here. Able to add sidewalk on both sides, north and south of Parkview, to connect some streets, Barnard and Broadway, I believe, and a pedestrian refuge island in the middle. So an opportunity for pedestrians to more safely cross Parkview. Moving on to Safe Community. there's a lot that we could talk about in Safe Community. We really focused on projects that kind of resided in the community planning and economic development and public services realm. This includes things like lead service line replacement, 108 lead lines replaced this year, which puts us at 4,000 since 2015. Approximately 10,000 water filters have been distributed throughout the community, and 29 homes remediated for lead paint. This is a CPED project run in conjunction with HUD dollars that was part of a 3-year grant cycle that we got. Other safe community work, primarily public services staff-driven, a lot of traffic calming work. We heard from the community in the previous years. We heard from the caller at the top of this meeting that folks don't always feel safe and comfortable as much as they would like to moving throughout our community, particularly in some of our neighborhoods. So things like 11 speed humps were installed primarily on the north side, which impacted 2.9 lane miles of streets. Vehicle lanes were right-sized, meaning as we were able to take over our streets and had the opportunity to work on them, changing lane widths to a standard size that's more appropriate for a city versus a state route or a highway as a way to calm traffic. Often that yielded extra space for on-street parking or additional bike lanes, and that impacted 5.5 lane miles of streets. We have done some pilot projects with some mini roundabouts and curb extensions in our neighborhoods following neighborhood plan goals of traffic calming, and 75 intersection improvements were made. And these are pretty cool. These include stronger audible symbols, improved crosswalks and lighting throughout the community to make sure that all of our travelers can move safely and be seen by others as they move through the community. West Netjum Park was in year 2 this year. We did all the engagement, if you recall, in 2021 and started some initial work in 21 as well, finished the north side and downtown in 2022. This meant fog sealing, which is a way to smooth out the surface, a light mill, and be able to smooth out the surface of the road. We were able to right-size those travel lanes. We added quite a few pedestrian crossings, and we were able to make the bike lanes a little more visible this year by adding bollards, more paint, and our green paint moving through the intersections to clarify movement for everyone. We talk about a lot of traffic calming stuff, and many of you, I hope many of you have had the opportunity to hear Dennis Randolph, our traffic engineer, talk about the impacts of this work. And with paint and bollards, so relatively inexpensive actions as opposed to complete street reconstructions, we've been able to impact speeds by 2 to 4 miles per hour, depending on the location and the treatment. So what does this translate to? So you have a graphic there that talks about the survivability rate based on speed. These are national numbers. They're reviewed and updated pretty regularly. Especially in a neighborhood where our posted speed is 25 miles per hour. Using traffic calming tools to bring down speed 2 to 4 miles an hour to get that to 25 or close to it is going to have a huge impact on a pedestrian's ability to survive a crash if one were to happen. Also impacts on, which this graphic doesn't represent, but also just impacts on property damage that exists from crashes, both from the driver as well as the property surrounding it. So even small amounts can have a big impact on the safety of our community.
So earlier this year, when we did a big reflection on FFE and the work that we were doing with the Foundation for Excellence, and you heard Kevin Ford, our Shared Prosperity Coordinator, really present and inform you on a lot of the initiatives that were going on. I'm just going to highlight a few of the things that the Shared Prosperity goal teams have been working on. A group called Parents for Transition have been assisting with supporting caregivers and youth impacted by things people can't see, right? This is critical work that caregivers can give our youth independence. So Shared Prosperity Sport really helped to show that diversified funding sources can enable caregivers and parents for transition to leverage other funding sources. So this is when Shared Prosperity really gets to show its muscle in able to leverage all those other funding sources to be sure that our neighborhood residents are cared for. Another group with Kalamazoo Literacy Council, who I believe helped when Kevin came up to present with the Foundation for Excellence update. We had gentlemen from the Literacy Council who also came, and also partnering with Goodwill, we had 125 parents who enrolled in adult education and adult literacy services and who received those services, 108 parents who reported increasing engagement in their children's learning, 132 children who received books and supplies and direct services, and 5 parents who obtained their GED, 32 parents who improved their employment skills, and 79 children who accessed child care services while their parents were learning. Just an incredible first look at what that impact can be with our work. And lastly, the Kalamazoo County Ready Fours, with 470 families engaged in 2022, and 8 families who had consistent support and check-ins with on-site family advocates. Again, more critical work that Shared Prosperity will continue to do in the future. In youth development, again, Patrick McVeary and his team are working really hard, also partnering with public safety to bring us some really great youth development. In 2022, 486 summer campers, which is, again, just phenomenal when you think about our Parks and Rec and the teams there. 504 youth participants in the Police Athletic League. They held really fun events like the bike rodeo, the creativity workshops. I don't know if any of you are able to attend the talent show. What I find just awesome about the talent show is that was feedback that we got in Imagine Kalamazoo from a youth group that Mac Blakevich had put together. And it was this small group because, you know, when we were out there trying to get information from all of the youth, you know, they were like, we should have a talent show. And I just remember that like so clear, like it's right in Imagine Kalamazoo and it says youth talent show. And here we are going, by the way, you guys, last year there was a youth talent show. So it just shows the impact of our incredibly talented Parks and Rec staff and how they're able to translate these things and make them happen and have these youth show up and like get out there and do their thing.
And finally, in inviting public places, again, really showcasing the talent of our Parks and Rec department with some really unique locations that help bring our community together and provide a place to gather and share stories, share our knowledge with others. And so a couple from this year, Farmers Market, of course, project that took several years, opened this year to great fanfare. Upgrades to our parks for a wide variety of users, so that, you know, young children, those that are looking for fitness specifically, the opportunity to cool off on a hot day, and so thinking about our spaces and who they serve, and also what time of year are we using them, right? We are a community that gets snow, maybe even this week, and we need to make sure that we are planning events that work 365 days a year, and our Parks and Rec department has really done that. And here's a couple pictures of some of the events that they had both in the winter and in the summer. Finally, creating spaces happens not just in our parks, but also in our streets. We talk about this a lot with Streets for All, that streets at one point provided space for a variety of uses, including travel, but also gathering and commerce. West Main Hill piloted a play street this summer, which temporarily closed a small segment of Peak Street between the two segments of Jones Park, kind of making it one big park, which created a space where they did, the children of the neighborhood did they created their own like sale. Somebody bundled firewood, little sticks, and sold them for campfires. They did a bake sale. They did a variety of other activities, and it served as a point of community gathering and a test for a new type of project in Kalamazoo. There's been a lot of survey work to follow up on this to determine how or if it becomes a permanent activity, and the neighborhood continues to meet and will be meeting this winter to discuss the next steps for that option.
And lastly, again, just wanted to recognize that this master plan is incredibly unique. It's incredibly unique because of the Foundation for Excellence and the support that we've had through Foundation for Excellence, able to do ongoing programs, not just 1 year because we got a grant. We were able to celebrate what we always wanted to do. We've always wanted to come forward and say, look at all these amazing things that we're doing, and we're able to do this and deliver this for the community. These are the community's goals, hopes, wishes, and dreams, and we're able to deliver on those with the Foundation for Excellence. And so just wanted to be sure that we thank them. So thank you.
So we have a little treat. Neil Conway, again, in the Communications Department, put together a short, it's like, I think, a minute and a half video of 2022 in review, and it's pretty neat. We're going to play it for you now, just to give you a taste of something that we hope to do every year moving forward to kind of showcase what work has happened in Kalamazoo.
Thank you so much. I don't know if anybody has any particular comments or questions here from my commission colleagues.
Just brief.
No?
Just brief. For Christina, when you mentioned, we mentioned the traffic calming, and I think we all agree that that needs to happen. What we hear from folks is, I don't see anybody riding their bikes. Now, I know there's going to be a time when that may happen, and when people actually feel safe getting out on their bike on the roads. Can you talk a little bit about that and the process with that? And we're just not slapping down a lane and keeping people from going fast.
Sure. So a couple things tied with that. Specifically with the expansion of the bicycle network, this is something that's going to take time, right? It's not an action that's a light switch. We need to make sure that we have a network that goes to places that people would like to go, school, work, to play, any daily errands, right? We need to make sure that we are creating a full network. If all we had for cars was a series of kind of dead ends or streets that didn't go anywhere, we wouldn't have a robust vehicle network either, right? So this is something that we are actively working on and expanding based on public feedback, where people want to go, where the changes can be made based on street projects that are happening. And it's going to take time, right? We can look at, and I think I've said this before in front of you, New York did work, and it was 10 years before they saw a doubling of their bicycle community. And that was a pretty strong effort of bike lane miles each year, right? It takes time to get there. Copenhagen, the cities in Europe that we go visit and bike around in and idolize, also had a period after World War II through the 70s where they were very car-focused and have slowly started to create space for not just vehicles, but also pedestrians and bicyclists, right? And it's taken, where they are, they've been working on it for 50 years. So this work is something that we will continue to improve. We will continue to engage the community on to understand what makes it safe and comfortable. Again, Streets for All is kind of our call to action, I guess, for streets work and making sure that we're providing space for everybody. We have spent decades, and Dennis Randolph, who has served on multiple federal agent board from different agencies for environmental justice and transportation, will also tell you that we have spent decades only planning for really one mode of travel. And so it's different being inclusive and thinking about all modes in all projects and what that looks like. And so there's a level of change that we're experiencing now as well that sometimes is hard to move forward or move over and understand how it adapts in our daily lives.
Thank you for that. Well, I'm just going to be honest and say that I have to intentionally think about going the speed limit because it's easy to go over the speed limit, right? And so it's not, I think, yes, the infrastructure needs to change, and you're doing that. And people are like, well, we just need more police patrols. Well, we're not going to put a police unit on every corner and try and catch people when they're doing it. That's reactive. Mm-hmm. We need to be proactive and have a change of mind and heart of all of our citizens saying that this is important. It's important to watch for pedestrians. It's important to watch and be aware of the bicyclists. So I think that's probably where that 5-year window is probably going to happen, where we're changing people's minds and hearts about travel.
I think that's a really good point, and one that I did not hit on. As planners and engineers, our sweet spot is the design and the engineering, and that's where we do a lot of our work. Because we know that based on how things are designed, we as humans act accordingly, right? So if we're walking someplace and it's super inhospitable and we don't feel comfortable, we won't go there. If the street is very wide and we feel very comfortable going a speed that's faster than the speed limit, we do, right? Because we feel comfortable. We kind of thrive on what we feel safe and comfortable with. We work on the infrastructure. There's a whole nother piece that has to happen through city work, through our bike advocacy networks, through our colleges, through our schools with Safe Routes to School, that is a change of behavior, right? And how do I as a driver think about how I move on streets where there are others traveling by other modes in that street? How do I perhaps make a decision to say, you know what, I see that there's a facility there, a bike lane, and I am comfortable and I think I'm going to try it. Or, we're going to bike to school one day and see how that feels. I mean, there's also a behavior and cultural shift that is happening with this work, and it's not just in Kalamazoo. This is happening across the United States, whether it's for climate change and greenhouse gas reasons, whether it is, for health reasons. Whatever it is, it's a change that's happening everywhere slowly.
And finally, I want to thank you both for that presentation. This is one of my favorite presentations of the year because we see what we've been doing. And often we hear what we need to still do. And we have to realize that we've been really busy. To you and your departments and all the departments that make these amazing things happen, thank you on behalf of a grateful City Commission.
Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you to you both for that presentation. That was pretty cool. I was watching the video and I got a little bit emotional because it looked like, great progress and great things are happening here in the city of Kalamazoo. No questions, but I just kind of wanted to hit on a couple of points. The recycling audit, yes, I did get a boo-boo letter. So that's great within the education, because there were certain things I was putting in recycling that I didn't know I couldn't do. So I definitely appreciate that. It brings me, again, to the sustainability when you guys talk about making our city sustainable and really what that means. And I think about some of our solar companies that are here within the city of Kalamazoo that we can start partnering with. I'm pretty sure we already do. There's probably a few out there. I just don't know their names. So kudos for that, and kind of keep that in the back of your mind, when we're looking to place funds in areas, that are really going to help our citizens. I mean, my electric bill went up a lot, and especially with winter coming in, that's, something also that we can think about. I love that ASM kick when you said focusing dollars on the neighborhoods, because really the neighborhoods is what house our residents, and we need to make sure those are good. I also will say that regarding Director McVeary, love the golf on the Woods Lake. Hopefully we're doing it again. I'm excited. That was a great time for kids and families to get out. And it wasn't even just families, it was more, there were a lot of adults that took part in there. And again, with the IK 2025, what we've done so far has been enormous. And, we're already working on IK 2035. That's in the process, because we're always revamping our vision, because we're always an evolving city. You did say something, City Planner Anderson, about it was the block parties, or where you blocked off the streets?
The Play Street in West Main Hill?
Yes, the Play Street. So I have some great information that I will forward on to you that I got at a conference that talks about those spaces, and kind of keeping everything in a box, and the residents have control of that box, or can get the key and they can come out and set everything up, and then it's there for them to use whenever they want to. So thank you guys for that. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. Other, Commissioner Pradel? Did you want to say anything, Vice Mayor Cooney?
Good evening. Thanks for the presentation. I'm going to kind of put you both on the spot because you get the opportunity to be up here and present everything that everyone has done all year long. But if you could reflect back at the last year, what is one thing that really stood out to you as something that you either particularly enjoyed or were proud of? And then I guess maybe one thing that you're really looking forward to this next year.
I got one, because it's the same for both. It is the Streets for All work, and the work to start the design on Kalamazoo Avenue has been incredible. This is a project that we have been talking about for 50 years, right? And have gone back and forth on how to do it and what the impact would be and what it means, and are now with the jurisdictional transfer and working with our Metropolitan Planning Organization, CATS, Kalamazoo Area Transportation Study, and everything else, the federal dollars that we were able to receive for the planning. Things are beginning to align such that we'll be able to capitalize on this long-running vision, right? And it's a project that has so many impacts, right? So it runs through two neighborhoods for sure, right? We know that it goes through the heart of downtown and the heart of the Stewart neighborhood. It grazes part of Douglas and a little bit of West Main Hill. The two-way work both on Kalamazoo and Michigan has positive implications for the universities and moving students and faculty and staff from neighborhoods over to the universities. It has positive implications on moving people, residents of Stewart neighborhood, north and south, up to Woodward Elementary, where their neighborhood right now is really bisected by a mini highway. And we'll have big impacts on the economic health of downtown, the connections to the North Side neighborhood, which is 1 block north of Kalamazoo Avenue, and really thinking about those north-south connections, especially in conjunction with the work that's happening on Ransom Street, as in the coming years as well, and how we're repairing the connections that have been lost for a variety of reasons, both transportation and land use planning. And so to be kind of poised on that, it is pretty exciting. And so I look forward, it's going to be a lot of years of work, And we're trying to figure out how we measure all that work, working over the next year to get some baseline economic data in downtown and the neighborhoods all around it to understand what the impacts are of these projects as well. So that's mine.
I think for me, ever since I have become the planner and I learned about our zoning struggles for infill housing and how difficult it is for people to build housing and development, oh my gosh, it's been the same kind of journey, like as the streets. It's been almost 10 years, I've been with the city 9 years, so 9 years working steadily on changing the zoning, making sure we had the right setbacks, redoing them to the historic sizes of the parcels. So in the past, before we started doing the zoning changes, you had to tear down 2 houses to build 1. And now we don't have to tear down any houses to build houses, which is incredible. And the next hurdle that we knew we were facing is just because you change the zoning doesn't mean the development comes, right? That just sets the table. It just means it can happen. And so then it was creating small developer boot camps. And it was reaching into our communities for those contractors. And it was creating this force that the community can build itself. And it wasn't about like, who's gonna come in and be our developer savior to build all these houses? It was like, no, we are going to do this. But what are the tools that we can give the community in order to do that? We got contractor trainings. We started doing pre-permitted plans. We held the developer boot camps. We continue to do that work. We continue to refine our pre-permitted plans and to think of ourselves internally. Internally, the city has done a ton of work. We have changed the organization of community planning and economic development. First of all, we got those 2 married, right? So that we could put the planning and then do the development together. We hired critical staff, development coordinators like Paul Thuringer and Sherilyn Parsons to lead teams that could then deploy this work and get funds to small developers who went through our small developer boot camps, right? And then we worked closely with those neighborhoods to make sure that the zoning matched what their neighborhood plan wanted. It's like every layer of the onion, like we just keep going. And I think that has been like my passion from the start of hearing from Imagine Kalamazoo what people wanted from their neighborhood plans and what they wanted their neighborhood to become, and then working with this incredible teams at the city to just, again, peel back every single layer of that onion. What do we need to do next? Then we need to fund it. Okay, then what do we need to do next? Okay, we need to get a training. Okay, then what do we need to do next? And just every year plodding along after 9 years, and now I get to say, we built this much. We funded this many units. We continue to do this. We've got 3 more pre-permitted plans coming, and then we're gonna build those, which create comps, right? Which then create the actual mechanism for a community member to go to a bank and get that mortgage. I'll never forget one of the most heartbreaking things after I was like, I don't know, some of you, even if you were watching, I think, Don, you were definitely here, and of course, Mayor Anderson, I was like, tiny houses, I would shout it from the rooftops, like, we need tiny houses, and then we get the tiny house built, over on Charles Street, and it was like, there's no comps. We don't know what to do with this thing, And so when we rolled out the pre-permitted plans for the duplexes, I'm like, all right, Sherilyn, we got to get our partner to build 3 of these. And we built them, right? So now we have, here's your comps, here's your comparables. Now the market has a space. And we took the risk to do that. And we're going to do the same thing with accessory dwelling units. We're going to do the same thing with 4-plex, with 6-plex, with 12-plex. We're going to bring that language of those buildings and those building types back to our city. And it's not going to be this one-off or this thing that happens, but it's going to be a neighborhood building strategy. That's what I'm excited about.
Commissioner Decker?
Thank you, Mayor. ASM Kick, just to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying when you talk about the developer boot camps, I think that is awesome because I know of a program through Michigan Works led by Teresa Alvaro, and I believe it's called the Access for All, and that is also great training that our community and residents can use. It's a free educational 9-week course for them to go and get their pre-apprenticeships to start working with developers that you have now trained through the small developer boot camps. So I would really like to see that relationship married and have you guys work together on that. So again, Teresa Alvarez.
All right, thank you for that.
All set, team? Okay, well, just, once again, I'll just say this. I do have one concern I want to bring up. I'll just say thank you, Christine Anderson, for coming down and presenting to us, and Rebecca Kick. Here's my concern. You have set, I would say you, the royal, everybody, you, the whole team has set quite a high bar. Are you really going to be able to meet this or top it in 2023?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's just breakfast.
It's actually interesting because we have the opportunity, we've spent a lot of time thinking about 2035 and the next phase of the master plan and what it should include, or what its focus should be, or what work, do we want to be discussing with the community. And the Magic Kalamazoo 2025, we really were focused on the building blocks, right? How do we marry land use and transportation again? What do we think about, how do we think about our core services? How do we improve our pedestrian network? It really was these pieces that when you combine them all, create complete neighborhoods and complete spaces for people to live and function in. And I think that we've done a good job of moving through some of those goals. We certainly have some more work to do and, work that will continue into the 2035 world. But I think 2035 will kind of build off of that rather than start from scratch, and really think about how the city serves those complete neighborhoods, those connections, that sense of community, that level of, what does it mean to be happy in your city, in your neighborhood, in your community, and how do you relate to others? And I do think that there's, will be some element of that as we continue to move and build on each other, now that we've kind of laid some of the groundwork for some of the, those building blocks of creating a community or a city.
Yeah. And I think this is the first time staff has been all hands involved in a strategic vision and in a master plan in an intentional and meaningful way. And we've had several years now working together as teams. I mean, if you look at this work, it's planning, public services, Parks and Rec planning, Parks and Rec, KDPS, it's not just one department doing work. We're overlapping, we're joining forces. And so we've also learned internally how to do work very differently. And so I think that will shine through in 2035 is the way that the city has evolved to actually tackle and do the work that the community asks us to do.
Well, one last request I have is that I think Neil Conway's minute and a half video, whatever that was, perfectly encapsulates all the things you talked about in your presentation leading up to that, which means it's good for TikTok. I don't know if we post things on TikTok or not, but that is a perfect TikTok. And more so than that, we have a moment together and you get to talk about this work, but as you watch that video, you see over and over and over again, members of our city team, 650 strong, they're the ones that are out there every day making this work real. Whether it's watching people pour concrete, which is something I love, being an old masonry guy. Our public safety team, pulling pipes through dirt, doing that work every day. And I think that is just a group of heroes here in the city of Kalamazoo, and I want to make sure that we recognize the whole team. That's how the work's happening. So thank you, Manager Ritzma, and thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Manager Ritzma.
Yeah, let me just close this out. I too want to thank Rebecca and Christina and the rest of the team. I've said this before, Imagine Kalamazoo has really put us in a spot where we can impact everyone's life through Imagine Kalamazoo, the Foundation for Excellence. And so I'm so proud to work with these folks and our entire team in doing the good work. We know there's more to do. There will always be more to do. And we're committed to doing that and to carry that vision out. So it's a pleasure working with you all on the commission, and we really appreciate the support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manager Ritzma. Any additional commissioner comments for this meeting? Seeing none at this point, just a reminder for anyone who's paying attention that we will have our regular business meeting starting at 7 o'clock this evening. There'll be another opportunity for commissioner comments there and an opportunity for public comments. We are adjourned.